Hey guys, it's Miss Delos Reyes. Today we're solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Our first equation is x squared plus 26x equals negative 43. Notice how I left a little space right here. The reason I did that is because I'm going to complete the square and I'm looking for that missing term. So if you remember, to complete the square, you take this middle term right here, 26, divide it by 2, that gives you 13, and then you square that result. So 13 squared is positive 169, and then you fill it in right there. Okay, so if we add 169 to one side of the equation, we have to add it to the other side of the equation to balance it out. So now we have x squared plus 26x plus 169 equals, and you'll take negative 43 and you'll add 169. That gives you 126. Now we are going to factor the left side, and because of what we know about completing the square, we know that the factorization is x plus 13 squared equals the right side 126. That 13 is coming from this number right here. Okay, now we can go ahead and solve. So we're gonna take the square root of both sides. You have x plus 13 on the left side equals positive and negative square root of 126 on the right side. Subtract 13. And so that leaves you with x equals negative 13 plus or minus the square root of 126. Now notice that the answer choices don't match up, and the reason is because you still need to simplify that radical. So you have negative 13 plus and minus. We need to find two radicals that multiply together that equal 126. So if you take a look, let's see, 126 divided by 9 is 14. So 9 times 14 is 126. And radical 9 is the same thing as 3. So our final answer is negative 13 plus or minus 3 radical 14. And the answer is A. Okay, next one. So you'll want to write it out, make a little space, equals 7. Take the middle term, 10, divided by 2, that gives you 5, and then you take that 5 and you square it, and that number is going to go right here, plus 25. If we add 25 to one side, you have to add it to the other side. So now you have x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 32. Factor it. So this gives you x plus 5 squared is the factored form, equals 32. And now I can take the square roots. So that gives me x plus 5 equals positive and negative radical 32. And I'm going to subtract 5. So x equals negative 5 plus or minus radical 32. And then I'm going to simplify radical 32. So I have negative 5 plus or minus radical something times radical something needs to give me 32. I know that 16 times 2 gives me 32, and radical 16 is the same thing as 4. So my final answer is negative 5 plus or minus 4 radical 2. So the correct answer, let's see, negative 5 plus or minus 4 radical 2 is D. Okay, next problem. Now if you notice here, we have the c term on the left side, so x squared minus 12x minus 13 equals 0. We need to go ahead and cancel that and move it to the other side so that we can have our little space there. for when we complete the square. All right, so now that I've canceled it, it's on the right side. I'm going to take that middle term, negative 12 divided by 2 equals negative 6. And then negative 6 squared is positive 36. If I add it to one side, I have to add it to the other side. So now I have x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 49. I'm going to rewrite it in factored form, so that's x minus 6, and you could again look right here to figure out what number is supposed to be there, equals 49. Now you can take the square root of both sides, so x minus 6 equals plus or minus radical 49. And we know that radical 49 is the same thing as 7. You can change it now, you can change it later. I want to go ahead and just change it now while I'm looking at it. Here we go. Okay, so now I have x minus 6 equals plus minus 7. Solve. Add 6 to both sides. X equals 6 plus and minus 7. Since I don't have a radical in this expression, you want to go ahead and solve it out. So you have x equals 6 plus 7, and you'll have x equals 6 minus 7. So 6 plus 7 is 13, and then 6 minus 7 is negative 1. So your answer will be x equals, from least to greatest, negative 1 and 13. Answer choice A. Okay, in this example, you have x squared minus 12x minus 50 equals negative 3. Again, you want to make sure that you have just the ax squared plus bx term. So we're going to cancel the 50, move it to the other side of the equation. So you have x squared minus 12x, leave a space, equals 47. Now we're going to complete the square. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is positive 36, so add 36 to both sides. So now you have x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 83. And then factored form is x minus 6 squared on the left side equals 83. Now you can take the square root. So you'll have x minus 6 on the left side and positive or negative radical 83. Add 6 to continue solving. So you'll have x equals 6 plus or minus radical 83. And radical 83 cannot be simplified any further. So we're finished. So our answer is B. Okay. This quadratic equation is different because it has a coefficient in front of the x squared term. So we're going to have to take care of that before we complete the square. First thing we want to do is we want to divide everything by the coefficient. So the coefficient is 3, so we're going to divide everything by 3. So that we now have x squared minus 4x minus 33 equals 0. And then now we're going to move this third term to the right side. So we have x squared minus 4x, leave a space, equals 33. Complete the square. Negative 4 divided by 2 equals negative 2. And negative 2 squared is positive 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. Now we're going to write it in factored form. So that's x, remember it matches here, minus 2 squared equals 33 plus 4 is 37. And now we can take the square root of both sides. So we have x minus 2 equals plus and minus radical 37. Continue to solve by adding 2. And we have x equals 2 plus or minus radical 37. And radical 37 cannot be simplified further, so we are finished. So 2 plus or minus radical 37, the correct answer is C. Okay, same concept here, but this is going to be a little bit trickier because it doesn't look like the coefficient is going to go in to all the terms evenly. You're going to end up with a fraction, which is fine. So divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, all the way across. So now we have x squared minus 4x, and then let's see, we can either keep this in fraction form or in decimal. Honestly, for the purpose of what we're doing right now, I'm just going to go ahead and use the decimal. And then see if it works itself out to whole numbers. Okay, so now I need to add 42.5 to both sides. Right here. X squared minus 4x, leave a space, and this is going to give you 46. Great, so now with the decimal's gone, we don't have to worry about that. We can complete the square. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Squared is positive 4. Add 4 to both sides. So now I have x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 50. Write it in factored form. And now I can take the square root. I'll go ahead and show my work up here. So now I have x minus 2 on the left side and plus and minus radical 50 on the right side. Continue to solve, so I'm adding 2. X equals 2 plus or minus radical 50. And radical 50 can be split. So 2 plus or minus, that's radical 25 and radical 2, because 25 times 2 is 50. And radical 25 is the same thing as 5. So I have 2 plus or minus 5 radical 2 as my final answer. So the correct answer is D. Okay, so in this example, 4x squared plus 15 equals 16x. The x term is on the right side. We don't want it to be on the right side. We want our terms to be ordered so that the x squared term and the x term on the left side and the c term is on the right side. So we're going to move things around before we even start. So I'm going to subtract 15 so I can move my c term, and I'm going to subtract 16x. So now I have 4x squared minus 16x equals negative 15. Okay, now I'm going to divide by the coefficient of 4. So we have x squared minus 4x equals negative 15 over 4 is a simplified improper fraction. I'm going to complete the square, so negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So that gives me x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals negative 15 over 4 plus 4 is 0.25, which gives me the same thing as 1/4. Okay, let's go over here. So I'm going to take this trinomial and factor it, which gives me x minus 2 squared on the left side equals 1/4, and take the radical of both sides. So now I have x minus 2 equals plus and minus radical 1 over radical 4. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that while I'm here. So radical 1 is the same thing as 1, and radical 4 is the same thing as 2. So I really have plus and minus 1/2 on the right side. So now I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I'm running out of space. I'm going to have to, sorry, this is kind of a maze. So now I have x equals 2 plus and minus 1/2. So that gives me x equals 2 plus 1/2, which equals 5/2. And x equals 2 minus 1/2, which is 3/2. And those would be my answers. Answer choice A. Thanks for watching, guys.